81. The date of the publication of Le Monde Primitif de Court de Helen, the work in which appeared, in volume VII, page 365, the following lines. If one heard the statement that there still exists today the work of the ancient Egyptians, one of the books saved from the flames which destroyed their superb libraries, the book which contains their purest doctrine on objects of interest, each one of us would, without doubt, be anxious to know such a precious and extraordinary book. If furthermore it were stated that this book was well known throughout the greatest part of Europe, and that for a number of centuries has been in everyone's hands, then one's surprise would certainly increase. Our surprise would be even greater if we were told that it had never been suspected of being Egyptian, that we have this book without really possessing it, and that no one has ever tried to decipher one sheet of it, and that the fruit of a delightful wisdom is simply looked upon as a collection of extravagant images which in themselves mean nothing at all. The fact, however, is only too true. This Egyptian book, the sole survivor of their magnificent libraries, exists today. It is even so well known that there is no learned man who has not deigned to look into it, no one before us having even guessed at its illustrious origin. This book is the game of Tarot's Court de Helen, quite unprompted, confirms the Egyptian origin of the tarot. He only needed to discern the symbolic character of the figures until then considered as products of the imagination, to recognize them at once to be hieroglyphics, which one could attribute to the wise scholars of highest antiquity. But this is going to quickly on with our task. A hypothesis which appeals to the imagination is not put forward without being immediately reconsidered, and under the name of Attila, became the high priest of fortune-telling, proclaimed the tarot to be the oldest book in the world, a work by Hermes the. He did not stop at that, but believed that he was qualified to revise a document of such importance. But this man of imaginative rather than judicious spirit managed only to falsify a symbolism which had not been studied sufficiently deeply. Christian in his Histoire de Magie also agrees upon Egypt. This author makes us attend an initiation into the mysteries of Osiris. After this we go into the crypts of the Great Pyramid of Memphis, where the initiate undergoes terrifying trials, which lead him to the opening onto a gallery, whose double wall has 2 pilasters, 12 on each side, in 22 panels decorated with hieroglyphic paintings. These are the prototypes of the tarot. The person about to be received walks past these pictures which relate the secret doctrine of the high priests. As he goes along, the guardian of sacred symbols provides explanations which make up the beginner's instruction in initiation. It is annoying that this gallery should be unknown in the study of Egyptology, which has not brought to light a single trace of this wall-painted book of Hermes, of which, when persecuted by the Christians, the last of the initiated would have taken a copy while they were preparing to flee the sanctuary. According to our present thesis, the secret hieroglyphics, once reproduced on portable tablets, were passed on to the Gnostics, then to the alchemists, from where we have inherited them. What one can grant to those who support this connection is that the ideas from which the tarot takes its inspiration are of great antiquity. These ideas are timeless. They are as old as human thought, but they have been expressed differently, according to the climate of the age. The philosophical system of Alexandria gave them verbal expression. whereas the tarot was later to present them in the form of symbols, if not by its 22. No aspect at all reproduces pre-existing by reason. Mind takes pleasure in the richness of model. Archaeology has not found the colors and forms. It is, by nature, idolatrous. Slightest trace of what could constitute the ant is in love with pictures. From this point, remains of an Egyptian tarot, either Gnostic view, Greece could be the homeland of, or even of Greco-Arab alchemy. The tarot, if Italy of the Middle Ages did not. The Seraphim. What strikes us particularly in the tarot is the number 22, which is exactly the number of letters in the Hebrew alphabet. One may, therefore, wonder whether it is not to the Jews that we owe our Kabbalistic forms. We note that the priests of Jerusalem used to consult the oracle of Urim and Thummim with the help of the Seraphim, that is to say, with representations or hieroglyphics. Eliphas Levi explains how the consultations took place in the temple, on the golden table of the arch-saint. Then he adds, when the sovereign priesthood came to an end, when all the oracles in the world were silent in the presence of the word of man, speaking through the mouth of the most cherished and most gentle of wise men, when the ark was lost, the sanctuary profaned and the temple destroyed, then the mysteries of the ephod and of the seraphim, which were no longer traced on the gold and the precious stones, were written, or rather outlined, by a few wise Kabbalists on ivory, on parchment, on silver and gilt leather, then finally on simple cards which were always held suspect by the official church as containing the dangerous key to its mysteries. Hence came these tarots, whose ancient origin, revealed to the scholar Count de Gabellin through his knowledge of hieroglyphics and of numbers, so strained the doubtful perspicacity and the tenacious investigation of Attila. 6. The information which we possess on the seraphim is so vague that it is difficult to appear so positive about them. The Kabbalah was familiar to the authors of the tarot, but these philosophical artists could scarcely have belonged to the Semitic race, which, far from encouraging a symbolism in art, has always preferred to link its abstract speculations with give us undeniable proof as to the invention of playing cards. Positive data. In the epochs before the invention of wood engraving, a special industry, that of illustrators or painters of pictures, made by hand very many examples of religious or profane subjects, on parchment or cardboard, which delighted the popular customers for these objects, as these buyers liked compositions that were not isolated subjects, but presented as a series. One could offer for sale more and more complicated collections, from the ternary of the godly virtues, from the quaternary of the evangelists, to the elements or of the cardinal virtues. They went on to the septenary of the planets, of the sacraments or of the cardinal sins, without neglecting the allegories relating to the 5 senses and the 9 muses, etc. Italians had the idea of putting these pictures all together into a game to amuse and instruct children. So came about the the innocent cards recommended by moralists such as Morelli, in 1393. Towards the end of the 14th century, the first instruction cards led to the invention of playing cards, which attributed to Francois Thibaut, who died in 1419. The followers of the Reformation in the town of Bologna did, in fact, grant the right to this lord to place his coat of arms on the Queen of Sticks, and those of his wife, Bentivoglio, on the Queen of Pennies 7, by virtue of his being the inventor of tarocchi. The idea of numerical cards ace, 2, 3, etc. seems to have been given to the players by dice, while chess could give them the figures king, queen, and knight, not to mention the rule and the tower house of God of the Tarot. 23. The origin of the cards are far from solving the mystery of the origin of the Lombard Venetian Tarot. This ancestor of all card games known in Europe is obviously marked by Kabbalistic knowledge, as Papoose in his Tarot de Bohème means objects which point out the 4 sets of 14 of the 56 foreign cards to the real 22 tarots, are connected with the arts of the occult and correspond to the letters of the divine tetragram. /want, the staff of augury or magic. Want, the scepter of male domination, the emblem of the male's productive power, the father. And cup, the cup of divination, woman's receptivity, imaginative and physical, the mother. One sword, the blade of the conjurer, which outlines the shape of a cross and so reminds us of the fruitful union of the 2 principles of male and female, the fusion and the cooperation of opposites. The blade symbolizes MQ.CO, a penetrating action, like that of the word or of the sun. And pentacle, the 5-sided disc, a sign of support of the willpower, condensing matter, of spiritual action, synthesis bringing the trinity to unity, trinity or triunity.